Hey everybody, welcome back to the Come Off Conqueror show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Bonnie, and if you've been following our show for a while, then you know that this show is for people who've been through abuse or through trauma of some sort and who are recovering and healing. And in this show, we share stories of conquering abuse, conquering trauma, conquering trials, and things like that, and sharing hope and encouragement through those healing journeys. Today's episode is a little bit different, as I'm going to share something that happened to me a few days ago. It's still pretty raw, and I can't believe I'm sharing this. Hopefully I can get through this video without breaking down. But I feel really strongly that I need to share that it, for one, it'll be helpful to those of you who are still getting triggered, and I know it will help me process and get through it myself. So, without further ado, let's talk about what happened last week. So, I was having a really rough couple of weeks. As some of you know, it's been like non-stop winter here where I live in Utah, and we are just getting pounded. And today's a nice sunny day, but it has just been not sunny. And when that happens to me, I start to get kind of depressed, and I was just feeling stressed and not great. So what do? I usually go get a massage, and my normal massage therapist is out of town, and my other one couldn't see me either. I have 3 guys that I go to pretty regularly, and anyway, neither one of them could see me, so I decided to go to this other one. Well, a friend of mine had told me about this new massage therapy place, and raved about it, said it was really great. So I was like, okay, I'll try this new place instead. Let's walk in. As soon as I walked in, I had this icky feeling, but I was committed. I was like, I'm sure this is nothing. It's not a big deal. They assigned me to a therapist who is a man, first of all, which I don't really feel super comfortable with that. Anyway, I don't normally not feel comfortable. I used to go to a massage therapist who is a man. His name's Jim. He's amazing. He's like the sweetest guy ever. But this guy had on sunglasses, in a dark massage therapy place. It was kind of weird. So instantly I was kind of like, okay, creep. Like, I wanted to start singing I Wear My Sunglasses at Night. It was just so strange. But I'm like, all right, let's give him, the benefit of the doubt. For massages goes fine. They take me back to the private room, and I get on the table, and everything's fine until it wasn't. And there were quite a few moments when I felt very violated, for the lack of better words. And saying it out loud, logically, I realize how silly it probably sounds to some people. But during it, I kept thinking, I'm not okay with this. I'm very uncomfortable. But the guy didn't speak English, and so I didn't know how to communicate that it wasn't okay, that he needed to back off. And I froze. I kept just talking myself into it, going, I'm paying for this. He's probably thinks that this is fine. Maybe in their culture it's fine. Maybe here at this massage therapy place, it's not a big deal. Maybe other people don't think this is a big deal. But I was so uncomfortable and I was feeling so trapped. I didn't feel like I could speak up. I didn't feel like I could say anything. I just felt violated, for the lack of better words. And then I started getting really irritated with myself that I didn't have the guts to say something. And he even asked me a couple times, like, is this okay? But every time he would ask that question, it wasn't in like a moment when it wasn't okay, if that makes sense. So I didn't feel like I could say no, because what he was doing in that exact moment, it was fine. But what he had just done wasn't fine. Or what he was about to do wasn't okay. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was just so uncomfortable. And I got out of there as fast as I could. I didn't even pay attention to what I paid him. Like, I overpaid. I later looked at my receipt and I was like, whoa, I gave him a really big tip. That sent the wrong signal. And anyway, all day I was just thrown off and I just felt icky. And all weekend I was feeling gross and I was feeling icky. And I just was like rationalizing in my head, Bonnie, you're being so silly. You're being so silly. This is not a big deal. What he did is not a big deal. Like, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. It's fine. It's fine. And I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, it just wasn't good. And then yesterday morning, I woke up in the middle of the night sensing evil entities attacking me. I could like see them in my mind's eye, see their faces, and see it was just bad. And I kept trying to go back to bed and I couldn't. And finally at like 6 a.m. or like 5 a.m. or something, I don't even know what time it was, I started railing. I started spiraling out of control and freaking out and crying uncontrollably. And I was like, what is going on with me? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I calm down? Why am I freaking out? And so I was saying a prayer and I could feel just evil all around me. And as I was saying my prayer and trying to cast out these evil spirits, I had this feeling that I was being attacked and that I was spiraling. I was having a trauma response, that I was finally that what was happening was I was being triggered and like big time and having a major meltdown akin to what happened after I was sexually assaulted when I was 22 and other things that have happened since then. And I realized that that's what was going on. So I said a prayer and I cast out these evil spirits. They left. But I still was not calming down like a ton. I was still crying and I was still upset. And I think I was mostly really upset because I was so mad at myself for not just being able to bounce back. I was so upset that I was being triggered. I was so upset that I was having a trauma response. I was so mad at myself for not defending myself. I was angry. I felt betrayed. I felt like I betrayed myself. Like, here I am running a YouTube channel for women who have been abused, meeting with all these different therapists and life coaches, talking about triggers. And I myself have been triggered since then multiple times and haven't had this kind of a response before. But this was like such a bad meltdown for me. And I was so bugged and irritated and angry and just not in a good headspace. And I felt the Spirit say, and I just kept saying, Heavenly Father, help me. Help me. And I felt him say, text Amy. Text your friend Amy. She will help you. And I could have texted a dozen other safe people. I know several other people who I could have talked to who would have also helped, but for whatever reason I felt impressed to text her. And I'm really grateful I did, because she's probably the only person who was awake in that moment. A couple minutes later, she texted me back, and she helped me calm down and helped me see that I needed a blessing. But then I didn't want to wake up Jake, my husband, and I was really worried of how he would respond. Like, he did not respond well when we were dating and I told him what happened, which I don't blame him for that, right? Like, and I shouldn't say he didn't respond well. He probably took it like anyone else would have taken it, right? Like, he's finding out that his future wife was abused and he was upset. Like, I don't know how I was thinking he should have responded. Anyway, long story short, I feel the Spirit say, yes, get a blessing and tell Jake. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't put this on his shoulders. He's already so stressed. He's already so upset with like other things going on. Like, I can't add this to his plate. And the Spirit said again, like, trust him. It'll be okay. I'm like, all right. So I sent him a text, and because we often sleep in different rooms because I can't sleep with his snoring. So in case you guys are wondering, like, why isn't he right there? That's why. We sleep in different rooms a lot. And so anyway, he comes in and I tell him what happened, and he's like, thank you for telling me. I will give you a blessing. And he does. And within like 30 seconds of getting the blessing, as he's talking, I calm down and I can finally start to feel the Spirit again, and I can feel calm again, and like the panic attack subsides, and he gives me the most beautiful blessing. And the Savior and the God said a lot of different things I'm not going to share, but a couple of the things that he did share, I want to share with you. The Spirit said that I needed to not repress the trigger. I needed to deal with it. I needed to process it. And then it was okay that I was being triggered. Not okay in that, like, what the guy did was okay or anything like that, but like I shouldn't beat myself up over being triggered. That it's a natural response to being violated. Like, that's normal. Any person would be triggered by that. And someone who has an abuse history is going to be triggered extra a lot of times because of these things. It doesn't mean that this was the part that was really good for me. He said it doesn't mean I'm not healed. I am getting healed, and I feel I am healed. This just being triggered doesn't mean that all that healing and all of that work that I've done is for naught. And I think that's a really big point, that when we're triggered, we can feel like, well, that was a waste of money. All this therapy I've done, all this time, like, I can't believe I'm having to go through this again. Here is this cycle. Like, how do I always find all these abusive people? Like, I'm just stuck in this cycle. Like, all of those thoughts are Satan. They're not the Savior. They are not God. They are not right. They are not correct. I had to hear truth, and the truth was that triggers happen. They just happen, and it's not your fault. It's not my fault that it happened. But I needed to deal with it, and the truth was I needed to process it. I couldn't run away from it, which is what I was doing. He told me specifically, do not stop busying your mind and ignoring this. You need to deal with it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to text my therapist. So I texted Trisha, and my amazing IFS therapist. She managed to squeeze me in, and we got into an emergency session later that morning, and she helped me a ton process it. And I also had the feeling I needed to go get a massage from the normal massage place that I go to at the mall, which is amazing, because that would help me. It's kind of like if you fall off the horse, you get back on, right? That whole kind of concept of like, this will help me feel safe again in my safe place. Massages are safe for me normally. And I needed to feel and prove to myself and to my body and to get my myself back into my body, if that makes sense, because I was kind of detaching, and that would help. And I needed to share all of this with you and document how I'm getting over it, so that I can remember next time if something like this happens again where I feel violated, I can watch myself and see that I got through it. I'm okay. The other thing that's the truth is that when we do the work and we go to therapy and we do yoga, we do exercise, we eat, all those things, like healthy, we do all those things. Those are healthy tools and healthy resources that help us get over triggers fast. I can honestly say I feel fine today. I felt fine yesterday. I feel like I'm okay. I don't know how else to explain that. Maybe something will happen in the next couple of days which will trigger me again, and I'll have to remind myself, I am safe in this place. I am safe, at this moment in this space, I am safe. That little mantra that we say when we're triggered, right? This is a good learning opportunity for me to realize that triggers are probably still going to come, and that's okay. And that it doesn't mean I'm broken. It doesn't mean I'm not healing. It doesn't mean any of those things. One of the things that Amy said to me that really, really helped, made me feel so much better, was that Elizabeth Smart shared a blog post a little while ago about how she was at the airport and she was violated and was totally triggered. She had a trauma response. And here is Elizabeth Smart, who is like the queen of self-defense and the queen of self-help and healing and getting over trauma. I mean, if you don't know the Elizabeth Smart story, look her up. She's amazing. I'll link to it in the comments. Her blog and her podcast and just everything she's done, she is just incredible, and she's such an inspiration to me. And to hear that woman still gets triggered, that she still has moments of feeling violated, and she still freezes, because that was the part that made me so angry, was I can't believe I still froze. Here I am talking about self-defense and setting boundaries and standing up for yourself, and I froze. I gotta forgive myself for that. But hearing that Elizabeth Smart also froze after all the healing she's done, the books she's written, the podcast, all these things, she is an expert, and she froze. So I can't expect myself to just in a couple of years become completely changed that I would unfreeze too. I don't know what the answer is there. Maybe we practice standing up for ourselves. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys have some answers for me of how you can teach yourself to unfreeze. And I think that would be a really valuable video for us. So if anyone has suggestions on that, or has a therapist who knows the answer to that, or something that I can interview to talk about it, I would love it, because I feel like that is something that I know I'm not the only person who struggles with that. I've talked to a lot of you guys who have said that you also froze in your moment. You didn't know how to stand up for yourself, and that's been really hard and shaming for you. And that's how I felt, was ashamed that I didn't do something. But the point of this video that I want to share is that we're gonna be okay. If we're triggered, we can act fast, not ignore it. We can pull from the resources and the tools and the people that we have in our arsenal to get over triggers faster. This would have normally derailed me for weeks, months. I wouldn't have been able to been intimate with my husband after something like that. And I was sorry, TMI, but it's those are the sort of things that show me that I'm not as triggered or as affected by it as I used to be. I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay, and all of you guys are going to be okay. We have the tools and we have the resources we need to be fine. So what are those? Let's recap. I texted my safe people, right? I got help. I got a blessing. If you don't have somebody who can give you a blessing call on your pastor or your home teacher or your bishop. Like, there's so many different people who can give you blessings. Other churches call it laying on hands. Or praying over you. Like, those are the same sort of things, okay? We have those as our tools. We have meditation. We've got hypnosis. We've got therapists. We've got, in our Facebook group, if you're not a member of our Facebook group, join us. In our Facebook group, we've got we've got life coaches and therapists, licensed therapists. We've got Trisha, the IFS therapist who helped me this time. Like, we've got so many different people who are professionals and who can help talk you down and help you realize that. What are the other things we've got? I've got essential oils. I did use some essential oils. Those also helped me calm me down. We've got baths. We've got exercise. We've got eating healthy. That was some of the things that in that blessing, I was reminded I needed to be eating healthier. I needed to be exercising, and I needed to be keeping my mind on the Spirit. I needed to be focusing on hearing God's voice and on listening to Him. And if I can do a better job of listening to Him, I could see how I was slipping a little bit, because I was warned not to go to that therapist, not to go to the massage therapy. I felt the Spirit say don't do it, but I ignored it. So y'all, listen to the Spirit. I know you guys can do this. If you have any suggestions or tips or ways that you can also get through this, please message me. I love you all. If you need help getting through a trigger, I am always there for you. I love you. Until next time, take care.